Yes, everyone, it's me, Nick Matro Elliott, back in the garage, providing you an update. So, I've had a month of tournament. We'll pick up from, I guess, the beginning. February 12th had a club tournament. Took second. It was at Lake Otay. The primary weapon with that was drop shot. I was using this particular worm here, the Shiver. It's black grape with red flake, so more of purple. Margarita Mutilator, I guess it's similar, except for it has a brown bottom, but didn't really get bites on that, and so that worm works well. Overall, I would say from November to about the end of February, that color worm or dark worms work the best at Otay, I feel. Uh, Although it didn't go to say for this guy because this is black with red flake. I used this the next week when I had the Federation tournament at Otay. Now, going into that, I had just took second place the previous week, so I was thinking if I switch up to that cover crawl, that maybe I get a few more bites, but it didn't work out that way. In fact, I did everything I could to avoid deja vu happening all over again from last year. See, in the 2021 season, had a tournament at Otay, same time of year, same situation. Did good the week before. Going into the Federation tournament, things changed, and the fish actually moved out of the tulies or off the bank. This year, I tried to focus on fishing deep, and I just never could get comfortable. One, fishing deep is tough for me to sit there and camp out in a deep spot. But two, all the spots that I did catch fish or I've caught fish deep, there was someone already there, so really couldn't get comfortable, couldn't really get settled in, and I only managed to get a couple fish. Got the points needed to help me qualify for state, but like I said, I really expected to do a lot better with that. Um, Big shout out to my sponsor, Dark Castle Marine. Really helped me out. That day of the Federation tournament, I caught my first fish, and as I was filling up the live well, it just stopped working. So I ended up nursing that fish all day, constantly adding water, keeping the recirc on best I could, and released it safely back into the water. But um, like I said, it was just weird. But back to Dark Castle. After I gave him the heads up that I need some assistance with my live well, took it to the shop, and he had it. He had it all good to go within an hour. So that's just great. Like I said, if you have any issues with your boat, take it to Dark Castle Marine. Talk to Derek. He can get you hooked up. So moving on, had another tournament the following week, which was the 26th of February, and that was at El Capitan Reservoir. That one was tough. Once again, couldn't really get settled out. There was a lot of anglers on the water, and the water's low, so there's a lot of spots you really can't get to. And my starting spot, I threw buzzbait first thing in the morning, which sounds crazy because it's still winter time, but I had gotten a bite January 30th on a buzzbait, and I figured, yeah, it's going to be a little bit warmer, so it should work even better. I ended up getting two bites on the buzzbait, but just couldn't connect. And it was a twin arm buzzbait that I ended up losing later on in the day, so that stinks. I'm going to have to buy another one. Um, but that's always fun buying more tackle. Uh, my weapon of choice throughout the day ended up being old Oscar Charlie, the orange crusher worm on a drop shot. And it took all day, but I got sick, so I cold one time, and I only had one area. A lot of people came in there and saw me just zipping back and forth on the bank, but it's the only spot one I could fit into and really fish, and it produced. So I camped out there. It was really the first time I've ever done that in a tournament, stay in one spot the whole time. I constantly like to just move, even if it's just the wind pushing me down the bank. I definitely want to keep myself moving, but I had to do it out of necessity. So Yeah. Moving on to the tournament I just finished up, the Toyota Series. First tournament of the year for the Western Division. It was at Lake Havasu. I have all my data from when we were there 2 years ago. We were there basically, well, not basically, literally a week earlier than last time, and it was a sight fishing tournament 2 years ago. So this year, going into it, I was thinking it's going to be much of the same. However, I knew the fish do like, or I would say don't like, gizzard shad and will try to destroy them. So I threw a swim bait in practice, a spark shad, and I threw it a lot. I threw it a lot. Now, where I threw it apparently wasn't the right places because I never got bit. And I threw chatterbait with the Kitech swim bait on the back. Looked really good in the water. Once again, never got bit. The only thing I did get bit on in practice was a Ned rig. So going into the tournament, I figured that's all I had, and that's what I use. Now, big change was I mentioned that we were there a week earlier than 2 years ago. The fish weren't on beds, at least when I went through the marinas and checked shallow. I just didn't see any fish on beds. But I ended up marking some in the Lake Havasu Marina, just some empty beds. What I know, or should I say what I believe about smallmouth, is that they're like salmon, and that they will spawn in the same spot year after year after year. So that's why I marked those beds, hoping that it was true. Day one of the tournament, I didn't go into that marina where I'd marked those empty beds. Instead, I tried to fish and get a big bite. And I ended up catching a 4-pounder about 8:30 in the morning, but that's all I got. And it was in about a foot of water next to a tule, and I ended up chasing that pattern all over the lake and never got bit again. So failure one, went down the wrong rabbit hole. Continue to stick to the overall game plan of fishing the deep bluffs or canyon walls. That probably would have worked out a little bit better. Day two, I had nothing because, as I said, I only weighed in one fish. But the fishing was tough for a lot of anglers, so I still had a puncher's chance. So I went and started looking at marinas. Maybe someone may have overlooked a bass or culled one out that made a new nest or whatever. Ended up going to the Lake Havasu Marina where I had those empty beds marked, and sure enough, there was 2 bass on each of those spots. Crazy. I ended up catching 3 of the 6 fish basically. After I caught one, I had chances, but the other bass just went off the nest and never really went back on. So that's why I didn't catch them. But I caught, 3 healthy sized bass. They were all smallmouth, about 3 something, and then about 10 minutes before weigh-in, I threw in next to some tules close to the launch ramp, and I'm getting my 4th fish, which was the largemouth that helped out some, and I showed up to the scales with about 12 something. So overall, I ended up with 17 something pounds, and finished about half the field, 50 out of 94. So I fished as hard as I could. I just overall just couldn't find them really. And going forward, if I go back at Havasu this time of year, I'm gonna have to stick to what I believe to be true. With that, the fish will move up. Even if I don't see them on the first day of practice, the second, keep checking. The first day of the actual tournament, no matter what, go check the shallows, go check the beds, and in practice, mark the empty beds, because they will in fact show up one day throughout the tournament, I feel. Also, throw the swim bait. I got to throw it more places and bang it off the habitat that's put into the lake, whatever, but I have to get some of those big bites off there, because you're going to need it to win. That's what the eventual tournament winner did the whole 3 days, is throw a big swim bait, or as they say, mid-sized swim bait, which means probably about 6 inches long or so. But he threw that, got the bites, and and he's now $30,000 richer. So it's time to transition. I got tournaments coming up this weekend and moving forward, so I got another busy month. Planning to keep you updated, also with providing some footage for you on the water. I couldn't do it this time, just didn't get any good pictures or good footage for you. So I'm gonna look to correct that. And until next time, tight line.